The Beatles song Something was recorded during their Abbey Road sessions in 1969, and this was when the Beatles were at their technical and creative peak. I've featured this bass line in my YouTube series Basslines That Changed Music Forever because it's so awesome. I love what Paul McCartney's done on George Harrison's song. In this video I'm going to show you the main parts that make up this bass line, show you the counter melodies and how it really works well with the vocal line. You can pick up a note-for-note transcription that I've made of the Something bass line in standard notation and tab by clicking the link below this video in the description. Paul McCartney's bass line from Something weaves in and out of the vocal line. Sometimes the vocal line's going down and the bass line will go up. Okay, so it works really well, and the bass line's busier in the gaps between the vocal lines. I think this bass line really drives the song, and it also elevates bass out of his usual role right into the limelight. These aspects of Paul McCartney's bass line might remind you of another bass player. Well, if you're thinking of James Jamerson, then you're correct because he was a big influence on Paul McCartney. Jameson's main body of work was between about 1963 to 1968, and the Beatles even covered a few of these Motown hits. But that said, McCartney definitely had his own unique style. He had that particular woody sort of tone that he got out of his Hofner bass and a pick, although he did use other basses as well. So he's got a very melodic style, a big dynamic range, and he'd put in hammer-ons and vibratos. We'll now move on to the bass line. Something is in the key of C major, but actually the bridge section moves to the key of A major and then it moves back to C major again. I'll play you the first few lines of the verse. So McCartney actually played this with a pick. Okay, so it sounds quite different with a pick. Okay, so you can use a pick or fingerstyle, it doesn't really matter. So he does a really interesting thing in the second bar. So the chord progression is C and then C major 7, C7 and then F. All right, for those first four bars. So it's chord 1 to chord 4. Now in that second bar, McCartney kind of implies a chord 5, a G there. Okay, so it's still a C major 7, but he kind of plays a G chord there. So that makes it 1, 5, 1, 4. Okay, so steps up here, G, and that's G, A, G. Okay, so he does that kind of stepping up, E, F, G. Okay, so on the G, sometimes you can hear this kind of vibrato. Okay, and then hammer-ons. And then he kind of slides off notes as well. So he uses a lot of articulation. It's very expressive. Okay, that goes from F. And he does the kind of same thing on the F there, F, and then that hammer on, and then stepping down to E, D, okay? So McCartney changes what he plays in each verse, but he uses these same main kind of ideas. And then D. Okay, so he's using these high octaves a lot. And then here, and that's just an arpeggio on D. So he's using a lot of these arpeggio ideas. And then this thing he does on a G, he goes from G up to B, which is the third. Okay, and he does these nice slides. He preempts this kind of a change of note. So that's quite nice, that. So 3 Gs and then slides to the A on the 4th 16th note. That's the same on B. And a bit of vibrato on that B. Now when he plays this in later verses, he sometimes just plays 4 on each note. Okay. Not. Okay, so that changes. And then we've got the A. Then we go to A minor, okay? A minor thing. Okay, so it's actually an A minor, but he's playing a G. Okay, so he plays that at the end of each verse. So on that E flat D to the C, so you've got these kind of fall offs, these little slides. So there's a lot going on this bass line, okay? I'll just play you the whole of the verse. So that A bit kind of slides up to that, just a small 1 fret slide. That's a kind of like minor shape there. That's just a minor scale on A minor, okay? If you're enjoying this video, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel by clicking the red subscribe button on the bottom right hand corner of the screen. And if you click the bell and select all, you'll get notified as soon as I release a new video. So that's the main idea that he uses for the verses, and like I said, he changes it as he goes through the different verses, but keeps these basic ideas. So he kind of improvises really the same way that Jameson did when he played on his Motown hits. But you can check out all the other verses on the free transcription. Just click the link below this video in the description. We'll now go on to the bridge. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the bridge moves to the key of A major. So it's got 3 sharps, F sharp, C sharp and G sharp. So it moves key. Now in the verse, the drums are quite kind of basic. They're just solid. There's a lot of space in them, so Paul McCartney's a lot busier. When it comes to this section, drums really up the ante. They're a lot busier. So McCartney kind of keeps his rhythm a little bit simpler, although there's kind of more 16th notes, okay, but it's not as syncopated, okay. So it starts on A. So a very busy line. That's a kind of sort of Motown-y Jameson kind of thing. That's just kind of using A's, C sharp to A, E to A, and then C sharp, and then chromatically. And then we've got this bit here. So the bass line's kind of stepping down. A, G sharp, F sharp, E. Okay, but we've got this. Now you can do that with a slide or hammer on. That's E, F sharp. Okay, so So I'm playing A, G sharp, F sharp, E. Okay, you can put some kind of slides in if you want. Like that, okay? And then we've got this D pattern. G. That's just root, major third, root, major third. And then the band do this kind of rhythm. Okay, just going down chromatically, fret by fret. And then we've got the same thing again, but down the octave. And then same kind of thing again, D, G, and then it's hard to hear this, but it kind of sounds like McCartney's doing on that high G. And then we've got that same rhythmic idea, but on C. Okay. All right, I'll play the whole of the bridge. Back down to C again. So McCartney does do a lot of kind of slides up and down and little kind of that kind of thing, and hammer-ons. Okay, so again he's using a lot of different articulation techniques in this bass line. After the bridge we go to the guitar solo, and that's just the same kind of idea that McCartney used in the verses. It's the same kind of progression. So again, that's all down on the PDF. So he uses the basic same ideas, but just puts variations in. So as well as using all these different articulations, like these kind of vibratos and the hammer-ons and the slides, that kind of thing, McCartney's very expressive with his dynamics. So he actually comes down for the quieter sections and plays up for the busier sections, okay? So if you want to get close to this, and I suggest using a pick. All right, if you've got kind of flat wounds or tape wounds, that kind of thing, you'll get nearer to the sound, and you can experiment with where you're picking. I picked for this, I found it sounded a little bit closer if I picked nearer to the neck rather than right there on the bridge. But you kind of experiment and try that yourself. Well, this wraps up the video. I just wanted to kind of show you a bit of this bass line and talk about it. There's also the whole note-for-note transcription that you can download. Now, I hope that you think that this bassline is worthy of the Basslines That Changed Music Forever series. If you've got any other basslines that you think should be in the series, then let me know by leaving a comment below, and I'd love to also hear what you thought of this video. If you felt that you got value out of this video, you can always buy me a coffee. The link's at the bottom of the screen, or you can click links below in the description. The coffees are $5, and I might even spend that on a beer instead. You can also really help me out by liking and sharing this video and subscribing to my channel. Also, check out my website, gbshed.com. I've got details of my membership, my bass courses, my bass books, my one-to-one lessons. There's loads of stuff over there. That's gbshed.com. This is Greg from Greg's Bass Shed. Hopefully see you very soon in the next video.